Hello, my name is Alex Owari from ONG Tax and Accounting Services. I'm a CPA licensed in Massachusetts and Colorado. I provide tax compliance and consulting services to multinational clients on tax implications of their U.S. operations. I also provide clients with U.S. federal income tax consideration as it relates to foreign persons and foreign corporations activities in the United States. I also work with U.S. persons with activities outside of the United States. Finally, I also provide tax guidance on a wide range of international tax matters that has to do with cross-border taxation. So whether it's a foreign person that's engaged in U.S. trade or business, or whether there is a tax treaty interpretation or explanation that needs to be done, I'm the right person to contact. In this course, we're going to learn how to successfully complete and request for a 2023 U.S. Residency Certification Form 6166. And you get this certification by completing Form 8802. Now let's look at the requirement. Now to use this course, the applicant must be a domestic corporation or a U.S. LLC that has elected to be taxed as a corporation with a calendar year ending December 31. The applicant must also be a domestic corporation that is requesting for U.S. Residency Certification for tax year 2023. The applicant must be a domestic corporation that is requesting for residency certification to avoid or reduce withholding tax on income from certain foreign countries. So it could be generally with U.S. treaty partners. And finally, the applicant must be a domestic corporation that files their own 1120 tax return. It must not be a corporation that files a consolidated return. The purpose of this video is to show you or teach you how to apply for a 2023 U.S. Residency Certification. You are requesting for a 2023 certification, which is next year. If you're going to do that, there are certain rules that you need to follow. To apply for the U.S. Residency Certification for tax year 2023, you must apply on or after December 1, 2022. The earliest you can apply is December 1, 2022. Anything before December 1, 2022 will be rejected. Now, you must also have filed your 2021 corporate return on or before December 1. If you're trying to file them early, you need to have filed your 2021 tax return on or before December 1, 2022 prior to requesting the certification. Now, the logic is simple. 2021 tax return was due on April 15, 2022. For those that did not have the time to file, it is assumed that they have extended up until October 15, 2022. By December 1, 2022, you should have already filed your 2021 tax return. And if you haven't filed it, then you should file it before December 1 prior to requesting for the 2023 certification. Now, you must also ensure that your 2021 corporate return is filed and processed by the IRS if you're applying anywhere between December 1, 2022 through April 14, 2023. Now, if you are applying on or after April 15, 2023, you need to make sure that your 2022 corporate 1120 return is either filed or is on valid extension. Now, you know that 2022 due date for corporation is going to be April 15, 2023. And so if you are requesting for this certification on April 15 or anywhere after April 15, you must have filed your 2022 tax return, or if the tax return was not filed on April 15, you should have extended it to get this certification. Now, what is the importance of the U.S. Residency Certification? It is the official way to prove to a foreign country or a foreign payer that you are a U.S. taxpayer and a resident for tax treaty benefit. They are also required to provide proof of U.S. residency to avoid withholding on the income earned from a foreign country. Many payers or most payers from certain countries such as Poland, Spain, Russia, Germany, UK, Ireland, Netherlands, Belgium, France, etc. I mean, these are basically those treaty partners that we have, there's a whole lot more. If you look into the IRS guidelines and publication, you would see a lot more countries that the U.S. have tax treaty, double taxation treaty agreement with. So this list here is not all inclusive, but just to give you some common examples of countries that usually like requesting for these certificates. So these countries may require this certification prior to making payment to a U.S. person or entity. Now, it could be the foreign government itself or someone or a private company that's trying to make payment to you. Now, in summary, you will need an original U.S. certificate of residency in order to avoid paying withholding tax in that foreign country where the payment is coming from. Now, so because the purpose of this video is to prepare a 2023 U.S. Residency Certification application to avoid or reduce withholding income tax from certain foreign countries, it is good that I talk to you about what cases payors from foreign countries may require this certification. Now, this is required to avoid withholding on the following types of income. So it could be wages and pension, income received as a performer, artist, entertainer, or even athlete. Income received from performing services. So if you perform any kind of services such as teaching courses or performing, developing software, providing consulting services, you fall into this category. It could also be withholding on payout on a foreign investment. They may also require it. So this list above is not all inclusive. Now let's look at the user fee payment options. Now the current user fee is $185 for corporations. You may make payment by check or money order, or you could also go to the pay.gov website and enter IRS sets in the search box, which we're going to show you very soon. Once the payment is successful, you will be able to see the confirmation page showing similar information below. So once you're able to pay through the pay.gov, and to be honest with you, I would suggest that you make the payment through pay.gov before completing these forms. There is an option to make payment by check or money order, but I prefer the pay.gov option. So you pay it in advance. On the final page of this payment portal, you're going to get this confirmation IDs. And this confirmation agency tracking ID is the most important that you should keep track of. Okay, so now let's see how the payment works. So first you go to pay.gov. You go to pay.gov and then you type in IRS sets and then you search. And then once you're here, this is it. IRS sets certifications. So you click on continue to the form, and then applicant name. So here applicant name that we're going to be using is Country for Pause Inc. Okay. And the applicant is not an individual. So we will check this side. And then here we're going to type in the EIN number. So we've entered the EIN number here. You're going to type in the person that's submitting this form. So in this case, I'm the one submitting it, Alex Awari. And then you will just type in your email address. So I'll use info@ONG, and then I'll use my phone number 918-928-58. Right? So you have the submitter's name, the email address, the contact phone, and then the fee information. Here, you are applying for 2023 certification. It does not matter how many copies you want for that specific year. You're just going to type in one here because you're just doing one form. The price is going to populate for you, $185. It's going to ask you, click here if it's a supplement payment. If you've been contacted to make supplement payment, then you click here. But if you're just filling this for the first time, then there's no need to click here. And then check here if name and address is the same as the billing information. So you can check if this is applicable to you. So all that you have to do after you've done this is to continue the process. Now, I'm not going to continue all the way to the end because I don't want to pay. But it's going to ask you if you want to pay by debit or credit card. You follow the prompt, you review, and then you go to confirmation. Now, once the payment is done, this is a confirmation that you're going to see, this confirmation here. And what is important on the confirmation page is the agency tracking ID. So make sure you have that when you're done paying. Make sure you've copied this number, because that's what you're going to use on the 8802 form. Okay, so now that the payment has been done and we've got everything ready to go, let's go through the instructions, or let's go through the form itself. The latest revision for 8802 is November 2018. So when you download them from the IRS website, make sure you have the latest version, which is November 2018. I mean, if you're watching this in the future, there might have been some changes. So always make sure that you're going to the IRS website and finding the most recent forms. And I can show you real quick. All right, so to find the most recent form, you just type in on Google 8802, okay? And then once you type in and you see this, go to About. Don't click on this one, click on that one here, About. And then go under Current Revision, you have the form 8802, and then you have the instructions. So you just have to click here, and then you download it, and then you continue filling up the form. So we're going to go through the forms and how to fill it out completely for the 2023 certification. Okay, so if you're applying for the 2023 certification, the first thing you need to do is to copy and paste the agency tracking ID from pay.gov if you paid it electronically. So you're going to copy it and paste it here. Here I have the applicant's name, Pantry for Paws Inc. Applicant U.S. tax ID number. So this is going to be your EIN. You put it here. This is not an individual request. This is a corporation. So these two boxes will be blank. Line 1. If the applicant's name and the taxpayer number on the certificate is different from above, then you put that name and the EIN number. But in this case, we are using the company that we use to file the tax return, the company that the payors are requesting us to provide certification for. That's what we're using. And if there's not been any change of name or change in EIN, we're still continuing to use that same company to request for the certification. So line 1 generally is going to be blank. There's no need to complete that. Line 2, applicant's address during the calendar year. So this line 2, usually you would put the same address that you use for your tax returns, for the most current tax return. Because we're requesting for certification 2023 and it's 2022 now, it assumed that 2021 tax return is already filed. So you will look on your 2021 tax return and look at the address you use, and that's what you're going to put here, because the IRS is going to cross-reference and make sure they are all correct. 3A asks where you want to mail the 6166 certification to. Now, the 6166 certification is actually the certificate, the final results that the IRS is going to send you to send it to your payors. You can choose any address that you want it to be delivered. It can be delivered to your attorney, it can be delivered to your CPA, or it could be delivered to any address that you feel comfortable with providing. It does not have to be the same as line 2. You can provide any address here. Appointees information. The purpose of this video is to teach you how to do it yourself. So you don't need this side. You don't need appointee's name. However, if you fall into a situation where you think you need a power of attorney, you could always hire a CPA or an attorney to be your power of attorney, and then these forms will be delivered to them. If you want me to be your power of attorney, you could always reach out to me. We will strike an agreement and probably charge you to be your power of attorney, and then I'll help you out with the process. Line 4, we're dealing with a corporation, so you will check the corporation box on E. Don't do anything else here. Most of this will not apply to you, so you just check E and then move on. Now, on the second page, make sure that you've entered the applicant's name, because this is what IRS is going to use to identify the company that's applying for this, because it's a continuation of this form. Line 5, you're going to check the appropriate box for the form filed. So this line wants to know the kind of tax return this company files. And in this case, we file 1120 corporate tax forms, which is form 1120 for corporations, C corporations, or LLCs that have elected to be a corporation. Line 6, you only complete line 6 if you've checked line 5 is no. We did not check no here, so line 6 is not important for us. Line 7, the calendar year for which this certification is being requested is 2023. So you put in the calendar year that we're requesting. I need this document for next year, 2023. But the earliest you can apply for this certification in advance is December 1. So take note of that. Line 8 here, tax period on which certification will be based. So here the IRS wants to know whether you filed your most current tax return on which they are going to use to approve this certification. Once again, I'm applying for these forms in December 1, which is the earliest I can apply, December 1, 2022. As of December 1, 2022, the 2022 tax returns forms are not ready yet. They're going to be ready next year, 2023. So I cannot use the 2022 as the tax period or as the base period. You have to use the most current tax return, which is 2021. So you're going to enter on line 8, 2021, 12. Make sure you add this 12 to the end. And then line 9, we are requesting for the certification for income tax withholding. Line 10, because you're requesting this certification in advance, you're requesting it at a time where you have not even filed your 2022 return. So IRS wants you to provide additional penalties and perjury statement to prove that you're still going to be a resident as of 2022, and then you will also be a resident for 2023. So on line 10, as you can see here, you would basically write the name of the company with the EIN, and then you will state that this company is a U.S. resident corporation. It is incorporated in the state of Delaware. I mean, it does not have to be Delaware. It could be any state that you've incorporated this company in. And then you also state that this corporation, it will continue to be a resident throughout the current year 2022 and the following year 2023. And then you also state that this certification is given under the penalties of perjury, and to the best of your knowledge and belief, the statements are true, correct, and accurate. Now, once you're done, you put in your name here and your title in the corporation. So it could be, the title could be a CEO or a president. And then your signature goes up here. Then your date, the date you're completing these forms. Remember, December 1 is the earliest you can apply. Applicant's date, time, phone number. So in case the IRS wants to call you to verify certain informations on the form, make sure you give them a valid phone number. Now, the last page here, this is where you tell the IRS which countries you're requesting the forms for and how many copies you need. So over here, you put in the applicant's name, you put in the applicant's EIN. Again, if you don't have a power of attorney, you can leave this blank. And then the calendar year for which you are requesting for the certification. So you put 2023 here. So as you can see, I have provided an example of how many countries and then how many copies I need for each country. So when you add all of them, column A is going to be 4 times 5 is 20. I did the same thing here. I did same here. And then I did 10 here. So you add all these columns together and then you get a total copy of 70. You could order more if you want. In my example, I'm ordering only 70. For example, over here, you could order 20 copies and that's fine. The IRS will send you all those copies you're requesting. All right, so take a look at how the final document looks like. This is the final completed Form 8802 to request for the 2023 certification. And you could pause the video and look at how they are all filled out, and should be all good from here. Now you've successfully completed your Form 8802. You should be very proud of yourself. This is something that trips a lot of people out. And so if you've been able to follow the examples here and how it's being filled out, you are good to go. You can send it to the IRS and all is good. Now, where do you file these forms? Payment, you can pay by check or money order. So if you're paying by check or money order, you send it to the Department of Treasury. This address is here. And then you could also mail it by private delivery. So if you're using FedEx, DHL and stuff like that, you could use this address. I'm recording this video in 2022. So if you're watching this in the future, make sure that the addresses are still current, and all you have to do is to go to Google Form 8802 instructions, and then the latest form instructions is going to tell you what the new addresses are. As I'm recording this video, these are the correct addresses to use if you're sending this by check or money order. Now, electronic payment. Now, if you made electronic payment, you just enter the agency tracking ID on page 1 of the form 8802. You don't have to attach any check because you've already paid online. And then you made all the required forms to this addresses. Is the same as the address I showed you when you're sending by check or money order. I like the fax option. It is easy to fax it and it's easy to send it. Now, you must fax a cover sheet stating the number of pages included in the transmission. So here it gives you the address, the fax numbers that you need to use. If you're within the US, you use this fax number. If you are inside or outside of the US, you can also use this number. If you're watching this in the future, be sure to go into the instructions and make sure that these fax numbers are still valid. Now let's look at the timeline for approvals and tips that you need to use to avoid delay. Now these forms, currently the processing timeline due to the peak season we have here now and the fact that the IRS is busy is 10 to 12 weeks. So if it's been longer than 10 weeks and you have not heard from the IRS, you can call this international line 267-941-1000 to ask for a status. Option 3. IRS also encourages you and they urge you to attach a copy of your most recent tax return to help in the processing. So for example, if you are applying for this early on December 1, 2022, the IRS recommend that you attach your 1120. The 6-page copy must be signed and then you write on the top, copy, do not process. And that tells the IRS that you've already sent in your return and you're just sending them a copy so that they are aware that you've already filed your tax returns. Now, this is how the certifications looks like when it's approved. They usually come generic. These are some of the generic statements they put on the forms. And it will show the name of the taxpayer that's requesting for the certification. It will show your tax ID and it will show the certification year that you're requesting. Certain countries like Russia and Spain, the IRS provides more information on the certification. But other countries, the IRS just provides such, generic statements with regard to those forms. I hope this helps you guys out. And if it does, please feel free to provide comments on the course and then also provide reviews, and it helps us to do what we're doing for you guys. And then also, if you have any questions, you want me to be your power of attorney, if you've completed these forms and you want me to look over it, I can definitely help you and charge you some fee to do all of that for you. So I hope this helps you out. And if it does, always tell your friends about it and spread the news. But above all, you should be very proud that you've been able to complete these forms successfully. Bye.